The number one reason people don't achieve their goals is that people avoid hard. When the human mind comes up against something that's hard, our natural instinct is to retreat. Retreat into what's safe, what's familiar, what we already know. We come up with excuses that sound very, very real. The excuses aren't real. It's just that it got hard and the mind seeks to retreat. And so the number one reason people do achieve goals is
Jack Delosa has helped over 1 million entrepreneurs. He was worth $25 million at 27, lost it all, and built back a $100 million portfolio.
Our brain doesn't exist to make us happy. Our brain doesn't exist to make us successful. Our brain is wired to do one thing, and that thing is survival. Your brain is trained to see threats. 10,000 years ago, the threat was the saber-toothed tiger. Today is, I don't want to have the hard conversation with the person in front of me. This post didn't get enough likes. The threats aren't real today. Whenever you try to do anything new, it will get hard. And when shit gets hard, the mind will try to prove the new way of doing things wrong so that it has an excuse and can rationalize its way back into old patterns, what's familiar and what's safe. The fundamental thing that enables somebody to become a better leader of themselves, which is the opposite of what most people do, is by rewiring their relationship with it.
Mate, Jack Delosa, welcome back to the Both Sides podcast. I say welcome back because we actually tried shooting an episode a few months ago. Which,
we did shoot half an episode a few months ago.
I think we're a couple of hours in as well.
And it was probably one of our best episodes today. Like it was on fire. We finished up thinking we've just nailed it. Meanwhile, the main camera on you wasn't recording. So we really appreciate the opportunity
detail.
to come back. Minor detail.
No,
we talk about the 1% podcast and the 1%ers matter, and we didn't even get that right.
Oh, God.
No, but I love it. It was a great conversation. And, you know, as we were just discussing, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And once something's happened, there's no point in kind of dwelling on it. So I knew we'd come back, we'd do it again, and it'll be better the second time.
Agreed.
Let's do it.
Man, I'm going to open with an intro.
You two are still a little bit fuming, eh? It's still a little bit too soon.
You know what? I'll take it because then we get another hour or 2 hours with you. So I'm okay with it. I'll be honest.
But for everyone out there that hasn't seen Jack, which would be a surprise because, mate, you're all over social media. You represent over 1 million entrepreneurs as a guide, mentor, or a coach. Now, Jack, you've got the Entourage. You've got a really successful business that helps service the entrepreneurial community. Alongside that, you were worth 25 million at the age of 27. And then shortly after that, were 5 million in debt when the economy changed on your situation. Bestseller in terms of an author. You've been on the Young Rich List more times than I can count on my hands. So, mate, thank you for coming back on the show. And just wanted to give you that intro because you are someone that's leading in terms of an entrepreneurial coach, I think, in Australia, which is great because you've got visibility. And I think your clients do over, I think it was 6 billion in revenue a year. So we're very fortunate to have your perspective, which is the one that can see so many different businesses and give real insight. So, mate, thank you for joining us again. And, mate, I just think a good place to start is just, what is it about entrepreneurship that really inspires you?
I had a mentor say to me when I was younger, anything you do will be motivated by frustration or inspiration. And I liked hearing that because at a young age, I had a lot of both. I was highly frustrated at a lot of things and like how the world is set up and the traditional system that most people go through. And I was inspired because, you know, at a young age, I kind of naively wanted to make a difference. The most kind of foundational and formative aspect of growing up for me was my parents ran a not-for-profit organization called Breaking the Cycle. And so they take youth at risk off the street, out of jails, out of abusive homes. They place them through a 3-month training program where they were teaching personal development and employability skills and life skills and psychology and all these really meaningful things to help these young adults grow into themselves. And they would then facilitate them into employment. And they would deliberately choose the young adults from the most challenged of backgrounds because they could only see, you know, a finite number of kids each year. And even though they would choose those from the most challenged of backgrounds, they were still the best job placement agency for youth at risk in Australia because of just how good they were at it. And so, you know, I was we've got photos of me at the age of 5 at like fun runs on the weekend for a fundraiser to raise money for Breaking the Cycle. And so I think it must have started when I was about 4, and then it collapsed when I was 12. And so Breaking the Cycle taught me that the traditional system doesn't work for everybody. But then it was a not-for-profit organization. And so when it collapsed, I was quite angry, to be honest. I was very frustrated because the question I asked myself at 12 was, who determined money was better invested elsewhere? Like, show me a better use of our resources than helping young adults live meaningful lives. And so that pissed me off. And so that comes back to I had a lot of inspiration, but I also had a lot of frustration. And I think the collapse of breaking the cycle is where I get my commercial side from, because I've always wanted to build businesses that make a difference, but I've wanted to build businesses that are financially sustainable, financially scalable, so that we can get message out there, so that we can recruit the best talent from all around the world, and so that we can, there's no cap on our scalability when you're financially kind of successful. And so, that's kind of, I think, highlights really well kind of my personality in a sense. I build businesses that I hope make a difference, and I approach them very commercially.
When you say commercially, what do you mean by that?
I mean with a commercial and financial lens. And so one of my observations, I'm now 38. Today, I'm mainly an investor. I'm still an entrepreneur, and I run some businesses, but I'm mainly an investor. I've got my portfolio spans AI, digital marketing, CRO, and digital media. And so, my portfolio today is worth over $100 million. And so I've had...
Congrats, mate.
Thank you. I've had a lot of exposure to a lot of different businesses and a lot of different people. And so one of the things that I would share is that often people that are mission-driven or purpose-driven are not overly commercial, meaning they don't think about the commercial or financial success and scalability of what they're doing because they're so mission and purpose driven. And then on the other hand, you've got a lot of people that are financially driven, but they're kind of in it completely for themselves, which is fine. It's just not me. And so there's not a huge sense of purpose or mission there. And so I think one of the things that I like to encourage more of is mission-driven people, purpose-driven people taking a financial and commercial approach to fulfilling whatever contribution they want to have.
I feel like a lot of people, when they get into business, they will be financially driven. From what I've noticed and experienced, not a lot are mission driven.
Yeah.
They are to an extent, but it's mainly financially driven. Let's say, for example, in the real estate industry, people usually get into real estate to sell real estate to make money and be financially driven.
Yeah.
Same as some other businesses. How do you find the mission in what you're already doing?
Yeah.
Good question.
That is a phenomenal question, because the reason it's a phenomenal question is I'm not talking about philanthropy. And like often you talk about purpose and stuff and people go, oh, okay, so maybe I allocate 1% of my revenue to some charities. That's not what I'm talking about either. I'm talking about finding the purpose in whatever you do. If you are in business, doesn't matter what business, real estate business, garbage collection company, training company, doesn't matter. If you are in business, you are in business because you are improving somebody's life somewhere. And if you can tap into that as a leader and as an entrepreneur yourself, so how am I and how is this business making people's lives better? Forget about my financial gain for a second. How is this business making people's lives better? If you can tap into that and become closer to that yourself, but you can also lead your team and recruit on that basis and lead and manage on that basis by tapping into the humanity of what you do, you will be a stronger leader.
When you talk about leadership, Jack, what does leadership look like or defined by you, and how does somebody get good at leadership?
Leadership is challenging somebody to do things that they deep down want to do, but never thought was possible. I think that's the purest form of leadership. When you can see somebody's potential perhaps to a greater extent than they can, but then you can inspire and challenge, but usually it's more challenge, them to rise to a level that they once thought impossible and achieve things that they once thought impossible. That's the highest level of leadership. To address the second component of the question, how do you develop your leadership skills? Everything starts with self. And so if you want to become better at leading others, you need to become better at leading yourself. And if you want to become better at leading yourself, you need to understand human psychology. And so I think you become a good leader by diving into and obsessing to a degree about human psychology, understanding what drives human decision making. Why do we do the things we do? Why do we procrastinate? Why do we avoid hard things? Why don't people see their full potential? If you can kind of map human psychology and then start by applying it to yourself. The example that comes to mind is Buddha he was able to help other people walk the path because he had walked the path himself. And so you have to be able to lead yourself to achieve things that you once thought were impossible and to fulfill your potential if you're going to be good at enabling other people to do it. And so I think to develop yourself as a leader, learn about human psychology. You're your first client, and so develop yourself to an extent that challenges you and causes you to grow into something you hadn't previously envisioned, and then help other people do what you just did.
Do you, in those moments where you really do believe in that person that's under you and you know they can get to the next level? So I'll give you an example. There's a couple of guys that have been under me in the past as an associate agent to me, and they definitely had the skill, but it took probably an extra year for them to really understand it, but I knew they did, and I tried to keep pushing them out. Hey, you go to the listing appointment, you go do that sale, I know you can do it. And there was a lot of resistance. It wasn't until I just said, you don't have any choice, you have to do it. And then they do it and they're like, oh, it's actually pretty good, I'm actually all right. Do you think you have to, as a leader, push them into scenarios where you believe they're
100%. So a moment ago I just said you need to inspire and challenge, but more so challenge. What you did is you challenged them. And the biggest misconception about leadership is like inspire people and make them feel good. That's almost like the opposite of what leadership is. Leadership is inspire people, yes, but with truth, not with bullshit. And so you genuinely need to see a high degree of potential in the individual, and then you need to challenge them. And guess what? When somebody's challenged, they're going to feel uncomfortable. They're going to feel inadequate. We're all the same as individuals. When you're outside your comfort zone, by definition, you're going to feel uncomfortable. And so what you did was you challenged them and made it a non-negotiable. That's where all strong leadership starts.
Yep. I've got two questions in one. So when you were
let's just dive into that for one moment more, but let's apply it to self-psychology, to yourself, and then we'll translate it back to leading others. Because again, I think this is the fundamental pillar of self-leadership, but also interpersonal leadership. When the human mind comes up against something that's hard, our natural instinct is to retreat. And so retreat into what's safe, what's familiar, what we already know. And when I say the human mind, I mean everybody's human mind. We are all wired the same. And so why does our brain do that? Because our brain doesn't exist to make us happy. Our brain doesn't exist to make us successful. Our brain is wired to do one thing. It's always been wired to do one thing for thousands of years. And that thing is survival. Your brain is there to make sure you survive. And if you want to survive, then really that's another way of saying your brain is trained to see threats and to avoid threats. The thing is that 10,000 years ago, the threat was the saber-toothed tiger. Today the threat is I don't want to have the hard conversation with the person in front of me, or this post didn't get enough likes, or I need to pivot my business, right? And so the threats aren't real today. They're kind of made up in a sense. But when we come up against hard, what we seek to do is retreat back into our old way of doing things. Particularly if you're trying to do something new, like it's a new fitness regime or a new nutrition plan, or you've been doing $200,000 a month in sales and you need to get it to $400,000 a month in sales, and that's going to require the organization to operate differently. Whenever you try to do anything new, it will get hard. And when shit gets hard, the human mind will try to prove the new way of doing things wrong so that it has an excuse and can rationalize its way back into old patterns, what's familiar and what's safe. And so how we prove it wrong is things like, this was never going to work anyway. The market's too small to do 400,000. I'm not the kind of leader that can do this. Maybe this business just isn't designed to go to 400K. You know, like so we come up with excuses that sound very, very real. The excuses aren't real. It's just that it got hard and the mind seeks to retreat. And so the fundamental thing that I think enables somebody to become a better leader of themselves is by rewiring their relationship with hard, which is the opposite of what most people do. Most people go through their life avoiding hard. The number one reason people don't achieve their goals is that people avoid hard. The number one reason people do achieve goals is that they have rewired their relationship with hard and they view it as a signpost towards progress. And so the book that comes to mind in this instance is a book called Creativity Inc. by a guy called Ed Catmull. And so Ed was the CEO of Pixar. Disney acquired Pixar. He became the CEO of Disney and Pixar. But he was involved in Pixar back when Steve Jobs was. And he wrote a book called Creativity Inc., which is all about innovation. Pixar and Disney have done a lot of really, particularly Pixar has done some really innovative things. And he said, we learned to view discomfort as a signpost towards innovation. We just learned that whenever we were creating a movie that was new and innovative, it was recalcitrant. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't behave the way we wanted to. It was hard and it was uncomfortable. And so at Pixar, and this is when Jobs was around, they literally got to a point where if they were ever working on a project and things were going well and it was flowing and it felt easy and effortless, they would put everything down, they would step back and they would go, what are we doing wrong? Because they literally learned to view discomfort as a signpost to, yep, I'm on the right path. And they literally learned to view comfort as a sign of, what the fuck are we doing wrong? And so we have to rewire our relationship with hard to become really comfortable doing things that make us uncomfortable. And so if you can practice that in yourself and in your own life, that's all you did with your team members. And it's an amazing first step, which is to go, I think you can go and do this. You don't think you can go and do this. So I'm going to tell you to go and do this non-negotiable, right? And in so doing, they went, they did it. They were probably really scared. It probably felt really bad. Because if like, even for the three of us, you think about like when you're learning a new skill or doing something new or exploring new horizons, how do we feel? We feel stupid. We feel inadequate. We feel, how the fuck do I not know this yet? We feel unintelligent. We feel, well, let's scroll Instagram. Why is everybody else looking so successful and happy and I'm sitting here learning something, feeling like an idiot? It's how we all feel when we're learning. And so the people that you sent out to do was it open homes?
Yep. Open homes, like listing appointments.
Listing appointments. The people you sent out to do listing appointment would have experienced all of those emotions. But you kind of burned their boats in a sense, in that they couldn't retreat because you fucking told them to go and do it. And so the more you can rewire your relationship with hard, and the more you can rewire other people's relationship with hard and just get them to do it and get them addicted to the outcome on the other side, the faster everybody grows together.
Could I get you to summarize how you would interpret both leadership and being mission driven on purpose? And I'll use Kevin as an example. Kevin's about to burn boats in a venture that's coming to the table.
Yep.
Where he'll be throwing himself in the deep end. How would Kevin maintain his own internal leadership practice whilst trying to be mission driven? And
so what are you going to be doing?
So
are you able to discuss it?
Yeah, short-term rental management.
In what sense are you burning boats? What's going on?
Going all in, like spending majority of the time getting indoors, helping the clients. I think, to be honest,
so what are you giving up? What are you sacrificing to do that?
Most of my other stuff, like in terms of real estate, I'll still be involved in real estate and selling with my team and current director at Manor.
So here's the thing. The best thing is anticipation. And so if you, and I know you would do this because I know you boys have both got a high degree of experience, but if somebody went into what you're doing and they were like, this is going to be great, this is going to feel awesome all of the time, and I think I'm just going to stack the wins from day one. Well, guess what's happened? Guess what's going to happen? The opposite of that. It's going to feel fucking terrible. You're going to wake up at 3 a.m. thinking, what the fuck am I doing? Richard Branson runs 93 million companies. Why am I consolidating? You're going to start proving yourself wrong. You're going to start going, what the fuck am I doing? Right? And there's going to be a lot of mistakes, and like, you won't be stacking wins from day one. It'll be like 1 step forward, 3 steps back. 1 step forward, 3 steps back. And so it's going to be hard. It's going to feel terrible. And it's going to take longer than you think it should. And so if you can have the anticipation of all of that, then when it comes or when it arrives, you just go, oh, that's the difficulty I knew I was signing up for. And it loses its grip on you because you're like, I knew this was going to happen. This is whenever anyone makes a change, whenever anybody does anything new, whenever anyone burns any boats, this is what occurs, and this is what I'm currently experiencing. And so if you can have anticipation of it and then not let the uncomfortability or the doubt dampen your resolve. One of the most common things in business is people go, how do I make the right decision? It's the wrong question. The question you should be asking is, how do I make the decision right? And so make the fucking decision. And then make the fucking decision right. And we know you, if you commit to doing that for a year, 2 years, 3, however long it takes. I've been in business for over 20 years. I still am, coming up against challenges every single day. But if you commit to that, then you'll make the decision right. And so that's what it's about.
When you say make decision right, are you meaning it becomes right because you're not giving up in making it right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you make the decision and then you do whatever the fuck you need to in order to make the decision work.
Now, thankfully, I've got safety nets in place and all that sort of stuff. So I know it's going to work, and I know I've got the backing to do it. However, I'll bring it back to what happened to you. You're 27 years old, worth 25 mil. Not too long after, you're 5 mil in debt. What happens if you're making that change and everything, like you built it up and then it all goes wrong? How do you build back? Because your reference point is going to be like it's wrong, like it hurt. How did you build back from there? How do you build back from a big loss like that?
That's not going to happen in this instance. I'll come back to the question in a moment, but that's not going to happen in this instance. What happened in my instance is we went into accredited education, and so essentially the government becomes your client. Because like Vet Fee Help or HEX or whatever, we became an accredited college, and so the government pays the provider and then the student pays the government back over time. And so the government stopped paying everybody, and then the government changed the regulations overnight to send all students back to university and TAFE. So they essentially wiped out the private industry literally overnight. My responsibility in that is I was fucking 28, 29 at the time. And so I had zero risk management around what does the business look like if the government does that. And so I wouldn't even, like, let's say I had the same circumstances or the same deck, the same hand dealt to me today. I wouldn't have even made that mistake again now being, 10 years older than I was back then. And so that was like extreme risk, extremely bullish, and an extreme black swan event. Like in your business, no one can come along and literally stop every dollar from coming into your business, which is what happened to us in 2016. And so we were losing $500,000 a month. We were 3 months away from losing $800,000 a month. I had to go from 90 people to 40 people because literally not every, but 70% of the dollars that were coming into the business were turned off overnight. And so it's a very, I've never seen a business more distressed than we were in 2016. So you don't need to worry about it to that extent. To come back to the question, how do I get through periods of challenge? It comes back to what we were talking about a moment ago. Firstly, I recognize that life is hard, business is hard, and as entrepreneurs, we invite more challenge than just about anybody else, other than soldiers that go to war and some other professions, like my cousins. been with the ambulance service for like 20 years. His job is significantly.
full on.
You don't want to know what how he spent last Thursday, kind of thing. Literally. But that kind of stuff aside, as entrepreneurs, we invite a hell of a lot of challenge. And so the first thing is to normalize it. When I'm going through a challenge, I don't wish it away. I don't think, why me? I don't think, there's no pity. It's just, this is what I've chosen. Even when the government, it's a black swan event that's completely external and completely outside my control, this is what I've chosen, because I've chosen to be an entrepreneur who shoulders the responsibility. And so the first thing is acceptance. The second thing is, when you're going through challenging periods, just take it a day at a time. This is something I had to learn back then. And again, it was obviously 9 years ago at the moment. But I had to learn that I couldn't solve the world's problems in a day. And so I had to become comfortable leaving the office with not everything rosy and complete, knowing that I'll come back tomorrow to fight another day. And so I think if you accept that challenge will come, and that when it does, you're just going to move through it day by day and not dramatize it or personalize it, then it gives you the clarity of mind to lead yourself and others through distress.
Being that a lot of your clientele at the moment are the top 1% or top 0.1% really in their fields, their chosen industries, that's obviously a common denominator a lot across a lot of them, which is
You'd be surprised. Firstly, my clients are exceptional business owners, entrepreneurs, investors, and exceptional human beings. And not many people understand how to navigate challenge. That's why they come to us. Not many people understand how to scale a business. And so the reason why I picked up on that, Kev, is we assume sometimes that, well, if a business is doing 10 million or if a business is doing 20 million, they must be really competent at overcoming challenge, and they must know how to scale a business, and they must have everything perfect. And they don't. We are all learning all of the time, imperfectly.
What would be some of the common denominators across those clientele at the moment?
Hunger. It's a desire. Everybody says they want to be better, but very few people are up for the change that requires, and even fewer people will actually spend money and spend time on their own growth to enable the change that it requires, right? One of the questions I ask people is, what's your most expensive belief?
What's your most expensive
Belief, yeah. Because if you spend money on just about everything, including entertainment or nights out or clothes or handbags, but you're not willing to spend money on your own growth, then what you're saying is, I'm not worth it. I'm not worth the investment. And that's your most expensive belief. Because the number one way to accelerate your growth, and this is all I've ever done, is I find people, and I'm literally going through the process of doing this with 4 different coaches, consultants, mentors at the moment across 4 different areas. I'm happy to talk you through them. I go and whenever we've got a constraint, and the constraint might be an internal constraint of mine, my mindset, my roadblocks, my upper limit problem, or it might be a constraint in the business. I go and I find some of the best people in the world at solving that particular constraint. It might be marketing, it might be landing pages, it might be lead gen, it might be lead nurture, it might be sales conversions, it might be offer, it might be customer journey. Internally, it might be a limiting belief. It could be fucking anything. I go, who is the best in the world? I find them. I pay them extraordinary amounts of money to help me unlock that constraint. And so that's been and I've been doing that since before I had any money. And so that's been my accelerant, because I'm able, because I'm so not even willing, hungry to pay people money to shortcut the development of my team and I, that it just means we go so much faster, because we can take what's taken somebody 30 years to learn, and they can install it in me or in my team or in our business in 3 months. And then we're able to go and get another 30 years in 3 months. Then we're able to go and get another. And so in a year, we've made so much more ground than people who are sitting around trying to figure it out by themselves. And so you have to be willing to invest in yourself. And if you're not, then that's a very expensive belief.
And I think another important insight you shared is do it even when you don't have the resources to do it.
Yeah. Huge.
Like, for example, we did a podcast with you, which we didn't air because of technical difficulties. But for me, that was 1 to 2 hours worth of your time that I got basically.
Yeah.
Well, it cost me
Totally.
a podcast. I got to use that and then apply that to my current situation. So I think that's a really good insight to relay back to anyone that's aspiring that may not be the top 1% yet, is become resourceful.
100%. Yeah. Become resourceful. And when you hear something that resonates as true for you, implement. We've got a culture today that is obsessed with knowledge consumption. So I want to listen to a podcast today. I want to read a book a week. And at that point, it stops being learning and just starts being entertainment that feels good. It's not about how much you learn. I would rather you read one book and implement it than read a book a week for a year and implement 5%. And so it's about implementation. And so the key thing there, and I want to show the audience this and the camera this, so our last podcast probably went for, I don't know, somewhere between an hour and a half before we cut it off, realized we had a tech challenge. Since then, Daniel's gone away and he's created a strategic playbook for the business, a membership strategy deck for the business, org charts both of the team and his businesses for the business, and forecasts and targets for the business. And so if you look at this is what this man was able to create from a fucking 90-minute conversation, right? And so that's the difference. And it comes back to the question you asked before about my clients as well. The second question to that is what differentiates the top 1% of my clients? Like, if my clients are in the top 0.01%, what do the 0.1% do differently? It's all about implementation. You put yourself into a position where you know you're going to learn and be challenged and grow, and then you place an emphasis not on knowledge consumption or entertainment that feels good, but what can I take and what can I implement? Because it's not about how you feel, it's about what you do.
Well said. I want to touch on that as material, Jack, and unpacked parts of the framework, strategy, and the psychology around how you actually go about building a business. What structure are you looking at in terms of your time horizon? What are the key principles? What are the drawbacks? Let's maybe go through the process of building a 1, 2, 3, up to $20 million business. What makes a successful business and entrepreneur?
Yeah.
And there's a lot. I've just obviously shared a lot, but just I want to unpack all that.
Yeah. I think the first thing to realize is that business is a game of growing from constraint to constraint. And so all you're ever doing is trying to unlock your current constraint so that you can grow into the next one. And so, from when you start out, the number one constraint is I don't have a product or a service. And so you need to get an understanding of what do I want that product or service to be. Then you essentially develop a product or a service. At that point, the constraint becomes, well, I don't have any customers. And so I need to start selling to those. And usually people start selling to people close to them or people that they have access to. And then, so you solve that constraint, you've got your first couple of customers. Then your constraint becomes, well, not enough people know about it and my growth has plateaued. And so at that point, the constraint is marketing. I now need to get better at marketing and generating leads and interest and attention from people that are outside of my current circle and current network. And then you start generating leads. And then you realize that your sales conversions suck because your friends and family bought from you because they know you. But cold leads actually don't buy from you because they don't know you. And so at that point, you need to work on developing a sales process and a sales system that converts. And then you're marketing and you're converting from a sales perspective. The next constraint you're going to grow into is I've got a growing base of unhappy customers, because when I had 10 customers or 20 customers, it was fine. But I've now got 100 customers and my delivery engine's not set up to operate at that scale. And so at that point, the constraint becomes delivering well at scale while maintaining a high degree of quality. Then you solve that constraint. And then you're marketing well and you're selling well and you're delivering well. And you've got a business and it's doing $5 million, $10 million, whatever it is. At that point, the constraint will be you, in that that the business is dependent on you and you're bursting at the seams. And when you come into the office, when you attend a meeting, everyone's pulling at you and grabbing at you. And so at that point, the constraint is leadership and management capacity inside the organization. And so you either need to start promoting internally and ascending leaders inside your own organization, or you need to go externally and start recruiting and headhunting leaders and managers to come inside the organization. Then you solve that constraint, you move on to the next one. And so all we're ever doing is growing from constraint to constraint. There's thousands of things you can focus on in business, and the vast majority of entrepreneurs focus on the wrong shit all of the time. If you want to grow to 8 figures and beyond, there's 3 things you need to become good at. And I kind of just went through them anecdotally. The first one is generating leads. The second is making sales. And the third is delivering to customers at scale. And so at any given point, you want to become, you as an individual and you as a business need to be becoming better at that. And you'll get to a point where it's no longer about you becoming better at that, but you recruiting and training people to become better at that. But that's really all we're ever doing, is generating leads, making sales, and delivering at scale.
Lead, sale, and scale.
How do you generate at scale yourself when you've also had, whilst you're growing as well to the point you're at now, several different businesses and opportunities that are on the go? How do you dissect that into where to put the right time and energy?
I work through people. At this point in my career, I work through people. And so...
what about before that, though?
Oh, in terms of before I had leadership teams and stuff.
As you're growing, how did you decipher?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So let me answer the question in terms of my current operating system now, and then we'll kind of go back to how it translates to how that sort of adapted along the way. So today, I delegate everything except the number one biggest constraint right now.
Which for you, for example, is...
It could be anything at any given moment, but usually it falls within one of those 3 things.
Yeah.
Usually it'll be a subsection of one of those 3 things, like ability to generate, to scale ad spend, to continue to scale the number of qualified leads you can generate in any given month, or sales conversions, or offer, or size of the sales team, or appointment setters, or, if you're an e-com business, it's always about CRO. So it's about like landing page conversions, traffic, and so I view every business as a conceptual production line. So we market, we sell, we deliver, we operationalize, we manage and count the money. In my businesses today, there is a leader or an executive heading up each stage of that production line. And so my job is to free myself up so that at any given moment I can ask myself, what's the number one roadblock in the production line right now? What's the number one constraint? And then I micromanage that, usually in conjunction with the leader, but sometimes if they're too busy, I just go in and I do it myself. And so I free myself up so that I can work on the hardest problem in the business at any given time. And then I micromanage that, like right down to the ground level. I'm working with the ground level team. I'm in the technology. I'm in the tools. I'm listening to the phone calls, like ground level. And I go in, I figure it out, I try and fix it. And once I fix it, I then move on to the next thing. And the reason why I'm able to do that is because every other stage of the business is being managed by other people, and by definition is performing better than the thing that I'm working on, because I'm working on the biggest constraint right now, right? And so how did I used to do that? It's really the same approach in terms of you have to focus on the core constraint right now. How I do that is, the question I ask myself more than any other question in business is this: what's the number one challenge that, if solved, would make the biggest difference? What's the number one challenge that, if solved, would make the biggest difference? And I guarantee you it's not like I need to answer more emails every day, or I need to fucking spend more time in spreadsheets. It either comes down to, your biggest constraint right now is you either don't have enough qualified leads, your sales conversions aren't high enough, or you're not delivering at scale well enough to extend your lifetime value. Like, it's one of those things. And the specific constraint is going to be, as I said, a subsection of one of those things. And so how I've grown in the past is by having a ruthless focus on the core constraint, but also skewing towards money-making activities. And so let me explain what I mean by that. And this is particularly true for people that don't have a leadership team like I do today. The number one constraint that we see in businesses is that the founder or CEO is spending the majority of their time in non-money making activities. What's a money making activity? Marketing and sales. Most founders and CEOs aren't doing that. Most founders and CEOs are either spending all of their time in delivery, which is necessary for a period of time, I get that, or worse, they're spending time like busying themselves, like living in their fucking email inbox or admin, or like reconciling accounts in Xero, or just responding to notifications, or procrastinating on social media, or running in the direction of any staff problem that pops up during the day. Most business owners are spending their time reactively and on things that don't move the needle. And so you need to get to a point where you spend 80% of your time on money-making activities, which is generating leads, making sales, or recruiting and training people that can generate leads and make sales. Everything else does not enable you to grow into a business that has more revenue, more profit, and can ultimately build a leadership team.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah, like massively. And when I implemented that into my business, so I remember the last podcast, the advice was spend the first section of your day and have a 1 p.m. cutoff, which is for just you and your deep
Have you been doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Game changer?
Game changer.
Yeah.
And I don't take any meetings now unless I finished my necessary deep block work.
Yeah.
I have no notifications on. Like, it's no inbox. It's all pushed back.
Dude.
And you just do your... And...
It's therapeutic to my soul to hear that.
Yeah, and so Kevin's been saying it to me. He's like, Dan, like some of the things I've just been giving myself space to think in the morning. I will just give myself space, and what we've been able to produce off the back of that has been like
game
some
changing.
of the biggest wins we've achieved.
Yes. So let's give a bit of color to that and sort of retouch on what we discussed there. And so, similar to what we were just talking about, most founders and CEOs spend their days reactively. And so they go into the office, wherever their office might be, they open their laptop, and the first thing they do is they open their emails, and they kind of spend their day in their being dictated to by their email inbox. Your email inbox is a list of other people's to-do lists for you. And so if your days are being dictated to you by your emails, what you're saying is other people's priorities are more important than mine. And then if you spend the first half an hour in your inbox, generally what that does is it sets the whole day up to be reactive. And so it's emails, and then it's notifications, and as we said before, it's social media, and then it's staff interruptions. And our days are spent 100% reactively. And so this is why a lot of business owners are genuinely busy, and they genuinely feel busy every day, every week, every month, but then get to the end of the year and go, well, we didn't accomplish anything. Because all they were doing was reacting to the fires around them and essentially chasing dopamine because they wanted to feel needy and be busy and fulfill this kind of entrepreneurial ADHD that we all have. And so the number one, and usually the first domino that entrepreneurs need to implement, which is exactly what you've done, is allocate time to do deep, uninterrupted work every single day. And so for me, that's usually about 5 a.m. to about 10 or 11 a.m. What I encourage everybody to do is 2 hours a day, minimum 3 days a week, ideally 5 days a week, where it's time allocated in your calendar to work on the biggest problem or the biggest opportunity in your business right now. And during those 2 hours, if you don't need the phone's turned off. If you don't need Slack, you're logged out of Slack. If you don't need social to progress this project or task that you're working on, then you're not on social. And so you block out all the notifications. You block out fucking everything, which is so emotionally uncomfortable, because then you've got to sit there and kind of wrestle with all of those emotions we spoke about before. You're going to feel inadequate. You're going to want to, it becomes hard and uncomfortable. So your mind is going to try and find ways for you to retreat out of it, which is usually pick up the phone, jump onto Instagram, whatever it might be. Sitting down and doing deep, uninterrupted work for 2 hours is really difficult to do, which is why nobody does it. But if you can train yourself to do it, which is what Daniel's done, it's an absolute game changer, because now you've got 2 hours a day that's being spent on the most important thing. And often the most important thing is just learning. Why? Because the biggest constraint in your business is the biggest constraint, because that's your area of greatest weakness. And so, like, let's say for a lot of people, it's like, I just don't know how to run ads on Meta. It's like, okay, well then, if you've allocated your 2 hours, 3 days a week, the next 6 sessions, so 12 hours in total, they are just going to be spent watching courses and implementation programs or speaking to coaches about you deploying campaigns on Meta to get better at that particular skill. And it's going to feel uncomfortable as fuck. And you're going to look for distractions and notifications to go and chase dopamine. But if you can train yourself to not retreat, and you can train yourself to really lean in, and you spend 2 hours a day on the most important thing in your world, you will be in the top 0.01%.
So what happened? So Daniel's done it really well, and I've seen a big shift and change in lots of different aspects of business and life with Daniel. Now, I'll just bring it back to the real estate industry, but it's such a common thing for the like 5 a.m. club, get up, run, ice bath, sauna, blah, blah, blah. And then they get into work and they go, well, I can't do it during the day. I can't go to the gym and do all this stuff during the day because I've got client stuff.
So what I would do is I would get up, I would do my deep work. So I'd cut out the run, I'd cut out the ice bath, I'd cut out whatever else we're doing at 5 a.m. I would get my deep work done between 5 and 9 a.m. And then at 4 or 5 p.m. that afternoon, I'd go for a run, I'd go to an ice bath and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of what I do. My first half of my day, and again, my day usually starts at 5 a.m. The first half of my day is deep, uninterrupted work. I then go and train for an hour or less at the gym. And then in the afternoon is when I do kind of what everybody else fills their days with. Meetings, emails, reviewing shit, all of that, the reactive stuff, the easy stuff. And so and that's the other thing with deep work is that it is challenging. You can sit in meetings and conduct meetings for probably 18 hours a day, but you won't be able to do deep work for 18 hours a day. It requires a different level of focus and a different level of energy. And therefore it kind of brings on a pretty deep fatigue. And so my kind of mental model around it is from when I wake up, my brain starts counting down because I know I've got a finite number of hours to do deep, uninterrupted, creative, developmental work. And once I've fatigued that out, which usually for me is around 2 or 3 p.m., I will be able to do reactive stuff for the rest of the day, meetings and emails and what most people do all day. But my developmental stuff, I won't be able to continue to do, and so that's what I would do for the real estate people that are kind of in that instance that you spoke about. I'd replace the morning stuff with deep work, and then I do the exercise stuff later in the day once they're fatigued.
There's so much power in this. Like sometimes I'll just look at my whiteboard, and I'll just sit and I don't analyze the roots, just pick the fruits, and I'll just get downloads of what I need to like. I'll be looking at an opportunity. Like, how am I going to crack this? How are we going to get this sponsor? How are we going to do this? And I'll just... And it's blows, dude, and it just bang.
Yes. Yeah. It's fucking...
I don't know.
It's thinking. Yeah. It was Henry Ford that said thinking is the hardest thing to do, and that's why so few people do it. It's so much easier emotionally to jump in your emails, answer 50 emails, go and speak to 5 staff members that are all having problems, check social media. When you're in reactive mode, it's chasing dopamine, and it's so emotionally rewarding because it's all instant gratification stuff. Thinking and deep work bears no instant gratification. In fact, the immediate reaction you get is uncomfortability because you're like, fuck, I don't know what to do. But if you can stick with it long enough, that's where the fruits are. And so, yeah, man. And so you've habitualized deep work and thinking. And to me, those are the top skills of any great entrepreneur.
And the other one I implemented was I don't work out now because I want to make my...
You look like you work out, so you're working out in the afternoon.
I don't work out. I haven't worked. In the last 4 months. Weird. In the last 4 months, I've lifted weights no more than 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
Because I want to conserve my energy for when I'm in that deep focus. I've got maximum energy to be present.
That's why I don't train in the morning.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll go for what I will do. As I was doing the 5 a.m. I was either starting at 5 a.m. or now I'll go for my walk with my partner so that we have our time.
Perfect.
Otherwise we weren't getting that because
Yes.
it'll come 5 o'clock and we'll both bug and we weren't getting
Yes. Yes.
So I swapped
I'm the
that
same.
out. But then
Yeah,
straight
yeah.
after that, it was like,
Yeah, I'm
My
the
deep
same.
work,
And
yeah.
so between, if I'm doing deep work between, let's say, 5 and midday, I mean, the times change, but let's just assume it's 5 to midday. Generally, there'll be an hour there in the morning where I'm having coffee with Panda and like
Yeah.
wrestling with Ariella, my 2.5-year-old daughter, because that's more important than business. It's more important than deep work. It's more important than fucking anything. And so, and this is the whole point, is you want to construct your days and construct your weeks and construct your months so that you prioritize what's most important, and then the unimportant shit gets backfilled afterwards. What most people do is spend all of their time on unimportant shit so that they don't have time for the important stuff, right? And so, yeah, I think walking with a partner is... it's not just a good thing to do. It's a critical thing to do because you need to nurture relationships first.
yeah, I agree.
That's been one like big key unlock for Daniel. I'm interested. What's been a key unlock or shift for you in your day or businesses recently, or what is something that you should be shifting and haven't done yet?
That's a very good question. So, I came back into my companies as CEO in October of 2023. And I'd essentially been like semi-retired for 3 years. And so during that period, we had accrued what I kind of say is a lot of debt. And I don't mean financial debt, but I mean like alignment debt around like how I would have chosen to shape the business. Operational debt. We had become bloated and complicated, and we'd started too many other businesses, and therefore we'd become inefficient, which was having a downward effect on margins. And that's why I came back in, because I needed to correct performance and kind of modernize the business, reinvigorate the business, but commercially also make some hard decisions around who are we and what do we want to focus on. And so we went from that. I just had my AGM last week. So I own about 70% of the Entourage, but I've got about 20 or 25 shareholders that represent the final 30%. So I do an annual general meeting to give them an update on performance and all that kind of stuff. And FY25 was our highest EBITDA year ever. It was our highest margin ever. And the dividend that I just paid out to my shareholders is the largest dividend we've ever paid ever, which is really strong performance. Because when I was coming back in 2023, it was essentially a turnaround job. And so to go from that to essentially have like 9 months and then the next financial year be our best financial year ever, has been really strong performance. But, and this comes back to your question, Kev, everything I just did for the last 2 years, I knew how to do, I knew what I was going to do, and I knew how to run the plays. My leadership team is so capable and so on board with, we're almost like all thinking the same thing in terms of what we needed to do in order to turn the business around. And so we've all been running the plays that we've known to run and been incredibly successful doing that. What that's meant is I've been, for the last year, engaging less external coaches and consultants and implementers and specialists to come in than I usually would. And so that was only something that I kind of really clicked for me a few weeks ago. And I want to preface it by saying, like, I spend, even when I'm not investing in coaches and consultants, I'm still spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaches and consultants. I'm just not doing it to the same extent that I usually would. And so I'm in a particular program and I'm in a community, and I was speaking to the people that have kind of overtaken me in a sense and have become bigger and better and leaner than my businesses. And I just got a flash of the blinding obvious, which is they all do, and there's only like 3 or 4 of them, but they all do, they all have one thing in common, and it literally hit me over the head one day a few weeks ago, which is when they come up against a constraint. And again, the constraint might be we need to generate more high qualified leads, but when we try to scale our ad spend, our ROAS blows out and we can't scale it. Or it might be we're generating the leads, but we're not getting onto them. Or it might be sales conversions, or it might be sales process, or it might be salespeople recruitment, or it might be delivery, or it might be how many customers we can deliver to well at any given moment. It might be retention, it might be lifetime value. The constraint might be anything. But the one thing that they all do when they come up against a constraint is exactly what I said before. They go out, they find people who are really, really good at that specific thing. They pay them a lot of money, and that's their accelerant. And so that's kind of always been my playbook, and it's always been how I've operated. But for the last 2 years, I've probably done it less than usual. And so that's what I was saying before. Right now, literally this morning, I've had 2 or 3 meetings around this. Right now, I'm engaging an AI implementation expert. We're pretty fucking good at AI. In fact, we're very good at AI, but there's people who are better than us. And so I'm engaging them to come into our business to help us implement AI even faster than what we are now, and helping us set up an AI agency that we're in the process of developing. I am engaging somebody around conversion rate optimization, so CRO, around landing pages and offers, and helping us increase our qualified lead gen. I will soon be engaging somebody to help us strengthen and scale our sales engine. And I'm in the process of engaging somebody who has similar business models to us and has a average lifespan of his clients of 7 years, which is about 60% more than us. And so I'll be engaging him shortly to come in and work with my delivery teams around how we extend LTV. And so in literally every area of the business, AI, marketing, sales, and client delivery, LTV, every area of the business, we're currently bringing in consultants to help us. Now, some of them will be a 1-month engagement, some of them will be a 6-month engagement. But yeah, that was something that I realized recently that I wasn't doing as much as I usually do. And so now I'm back on the front foot.
Sorry, Kev. On that one, Jack, let's say, for example, the constraint was marketing and ads. Would you pay the consultant to do it for you, or would you pay them to coach you how to do it?
Both.
Okay.
Both. And so the other thing that's really true in kind of the Entourage group at the moment is the team is exceptional. Like, the team is at an all-time high, and so every single person that is there, and this was kind of, deliberately engineered over the last couple of years, every single person that is there is a fucking A player who is hungry and smart and doesn't carry any ego and wants to learn and executes well. And so when we go and we find either consultants or coaches, generally what you do is you pay them to do it for you, but as they're doing it with my team and in conjunction with my team, kind of like a co-pilot.
Yeah.
And so you might do that, like if we're talking CRO, for example, we might do that for 3 months.
Yeah.
And what that is it's just an accelerated training and development program for my key marketing people. Then after that, you might keep them on at a lower rate, as in keep the consultants on at a lower rate, doing like a done with you or a coaching or an advisory thing. You might do that for another 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
But generally, if you want to go super fast, it'd be a do it for us in conjunction with us, and then later becomes a coaching relationship.
And if you was the founder, weren't the master, or even you were in your early stages of learning that skill set, would you still run that process of get them to do it for you, hire an A player on your team that they could learn off to do it, or do you as the founder need to learn, be in the trenches yourself?
Both. So I have to have a team member learning it, because I'm not going to be the person in charge of sustain, maintain once the consultant's gone.
Yep.
And so and this I think is a really good question, Daniel, because I think it's where a lot of people fall through. Is the entrepreneur works with a consultant for 3 months, does all of this stuff, and then goes back to their marketing team and goes, "This is how we're now operating." It's like marketing team, like you just completely left them behind and you did not involve them. And so I kind of do the opposite. What I do is, and again, my head of marketing, her name is Sophie. She's just so good. It's like, she's so smart. She's so capable. She's so hardworking. She's so proactive. And she loves to learn, similar to me. And so we're going through this consultant we're engaging out of the States. We're going through the whole process together. So I'm the one that initiated the conversation. But really, once I've initiated the conversation and we're now, having a weekly meeting, she's really probably the one driving it thereafter. Like the consultant is going to need, okay, send me all of your funnels, send me your data. Sophie's the one that delivers that and just CCs me in. And so I'm there to guide and steer, and I have to be involved because I have to understand what we're doing and how we're evolving our way of operating. But it's equally, if not more important, that Soph is driving it and is getting the benefit of that development.
Yeah, that's really good. That's something practical for us to implement.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll relate back to a practical term again. First of all, how do you find your A players to begin with? And then secondly, if you're, for example, a real estate agency and you don't, like, this is your first marketing person that you're hiring, and you're really good at real estate, but you have no idea about marketing, how do you actually know that they're an A player to begin with?
Yes.
Because they might be under the umbrella of a marketing agency and you're poaching them, for example.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so the first thing is in terms of how do you hire A players, this is going to sound so obvious and so simple because it is. A players are not looking for jobs.
You said this last time, I remember.
A players are not looking for jobs. How do most businesses recruit? Today we draw up an ad on ChatGPT and we put it up on Seek. And we put it up on Seek.
Yep.
Who's on Seek? People looking for jobs.
Yep.
They're not A players. They're C and D players at best. Masquerading as B players. And so the first thing, like I spoke before about, as an entrepreneur, you kind of want to free yourself up as much as possible. One of the reasons you want to free yourself up as much as possible is you actually want to be able to invest time into recruiting properly. And if you don't have time to recruit properly, then you actually want to pay a recruiter to recruit properly. So the first thing is that if you're hiring for like a junior position, then Seek might be okay. But any like medium or senior position, you absolutely have to be headhunting key people from key businesses that you admire, that you respect, that are a little bit further along than you. And so the people that you're employing are bringing in a whole bunch of expertise and IP. And so you're bringing in the expertise and the IP as much as you are the person. So that's the first thing, is don't hire reactively. You have to go out and find the people. The second component, your second question, Kev, is a really good one, which is what if you don't have the skills? Firstly, use a recruitment agency. It can be expensive, but for key hires, it's a lot less expensive than hiring the wrong person and either keeping the wrong person in play for 3 to 5 years or needing to fire the wrong person 5 months later. So use a recruitment agency if and when you can. And then the other thing, like if you're not satisfied, like if you think the recruitment agency specializes in marketing talent, but they don't actually understand the technicalities of marketing, then engage a marketing consultant or a marketing agency to run the recruitment process with you and the recruitment agency.
I love that. That's a cool idea. I've never heard that.
Yeah. Business isn't about resources. It's all about resourcefulness. And so if you don't have the skills, just make sure there's people involved in the conversation that do.
That's really good.
What's the biggest thing when you are scaling, and you talk about those the 3 points, generate leads, then you need to be converting the sales, then deliver to customers at scale. When you were growing, what was the biggest thing that you've seen, or with your clients? Obviously they take step by step, but what's the hardest to grasp and why of those three?
Or out of those 3 topics?
Yeah.
I'm going to pick 2. It's sales and marketing. And the reason is most people think that building a business is about delivering a product or a service. And so what the founder CEO will generally focus on for the first 3, 5, 10, 20 years is building a product and delivering it, or developing and refining a service to deliver it really, really well. And so generally speaking, that's not the first constraint. The first constraint isn't the product needs to be better or the service needs to be better, because it's generally what people have spent a lot of time working on already. The paradigm shift is all growth is sales and marketing led. All growth is sales and marketing led. You can have the best service in the world, but if people don't know about it, they can't buy it. And so the paradigm shift is I need to go from somebody who's obsessed about selling homes to marketing and converting people who want to sell their home. Or I need to go from somebody who's been obsessed about, helping businesses implement technology projects, and the same level, whatever it is you do, make dresses, sell whiskey, whatever it is you do, the obsession that you've pointed towards that for the last 5 years, you now need to switch that obsession to focus as much on winning customers that want that thing. And that's marketing and that's sales. And so that's generally, it's not even generally, it's always the areas that are most neglected. And you see that in an org chart as well. An org chart being a visual representation of your team. Generally speaking, like if you've got marketing, sales, delivery, ops and admin, and finance, generally speaking, you've got no one in marketing. The founder is the key salesperson. You've got a lot of people in service delivery or product delivery. You've got a couple of people in admin, and you've got an outsourced bookkeeper and an outsourced accountant. And so it's like, show me your org chart, I'll show you your weaknesses. You show me your org chart, and it's like, there's all these people in delivery, some people in ops, and a couple of people in finance. There's no one in marketing, and sales is all you. There's people listening to this podcast right now going, what the fuck? Jack just described my org chart impeccably. And it's not because I'm fucking psychic. It's because there's patterns. And like, we all do the same shit. You know what I mean? And so marketing and sales is always the area that is most neglected. And you will see that if you draw down your org chart.
Yeah. I feel like we see this in like 90% of real estate businesses.
Right.
They don't even have marketing people.
No.
So,
and by the way, that's exciting. If your org chart looks the way I just described it, and you have never done marketing properly, if your org chart looks the way I just described it, generally what happens is the people that are doing admin are occasionally sending out an email and occasionally posting on social media. And so you're kind of sort of doing marketing, which is in 2025 is the equivalent of not doing any marketing at all. Like, you don't even waste your time if you're not going to do it properly. If you have grown a successful business, even the foundation of a successful business, without any marketing and without any emphasis on sales process and sales conversions, then you are sitting on a fucking gold mine. Because all we need to do is slowly layer on some marketing. And I say slowly because you don't want to like double your customers in 2 months because your delivery systems won't hold up. So you slowly layer on really good marketing to attract high quality prospects. Make sure you're converting from a sales perspective at the rates that you should be, which is significantly higher than industry average. And then you're building out your delivery team at the rate at which you can win new customers. Like, if what I'm saying is resonating with you, it's not like, oh, fuck, that's me, damn. It's like, oh, fuck, that's me, fucking game on. Because there's so much growth potential in that business.
What are your advice for, say, let's use the real estate industry when it comes to marketing effectively?
Sorry, say it again, Daniel.
What's your advice for we'll use real estate as the industry,
Yep.
for people to market effectively?
I don't really know. I've got coaches and advisors in my team who work with the real estate businesses in our community and client base. What I would say is this. You need to define what a qualified marketing lead is, and you need a system to generate them regularly. And the extent to which you can do that is the speed at which you can grow the business. Because everything is downstream from how many qualified leads can you generate. Like, I'm sounding like a broken record on this podcast, but it's kind of a good thing because hopefully it just hammers home the basics. And so work out what a qualified lead is and then develop a system for generating more of them. Generally speaking, you're going to want a blend of organic and acquisitive. And so what I mean by that is organic content. What I would say as a consumer to the real estate industry is everybody looks and talks exactly the fucking same. And so to me, it's kind of what you said before with the 5 a.m. thing. Like, everybody just goes and runs and does ice baths and shit. Yep. My brain goes, that's fucking awesome. I'm going to let everybody go and do their fucking ice baths. I'm going to sit here and do deep work. That's my advantage because everybody's doing one thing. When they zig, I'm going to zag. In real estate, everybody talk like there's even this kind of tonality and cadence to how they kind of talk like auctioneers all the time. And so the first thing I would do, and I'm talking about this under the context of like organic digital, like social media content, is I would completely break that mold. Because I think from a consumer perspective, what people are starving for in real estate agents is authenticity and somebody that genuinely gives a shit. And so to come back to your question, Jenny, I think there's two core things. There's organic, which is content. How do I highlight what we do? How do I highlight our customers? How do I highlight our properties? How do I highlight our mistakes? How do I highlight and introduce my team and the characters in my life? And how do I do it in a really authentic way that doesn't look or smell like a real estate agent? And then secondly to that is you need ads. You need to be running ads. And the reason why we do organic social media is so that we can run ads targeted towards those that follow us on social media. Because if you run an ad targeted towards somebody that follows you, they are significantly more likely to convert, and they will convert at a much lower marketing cost than somebody that does not follow you. And so you want to be producing high quality social media content that's real and authentic, and then you want to be running ads on Meta. And that's pretty much all you need to do.
Out of curiosity, what's your biggest lead generation funnel at the moment, and or what was the shift that happened in your business for marketing, whether it be like social media, like organic growth, ads, whatever it may be, that shifted your business?
So our strategy is exactly what I just outlined. In the last 18 months, we probably 10x'd what we do from a content perspective.
Like 10x the amount of posts, or?
Yes, and the quality of the posts, everything. Built out the team more proactively. I've just taken it a lot more seriously and been a lot more proactive towards it. And so, today our content reaches 6 million business owners a month. Like I had a videographer start with me a month ago, and he's like, I shot this ad for CBA, and they spent $3 million on it, and it went really well. It got 7 million impressions. I'm like, dude, I got 6 million impressions last month. They cost me nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Like big brands are spending millions of dollars, as we always have, to reach people. Whereas if you develop some capability on social media, you can have the same distribution for free. It's just effort and consistency. And so we've 10x the media side. And then, as I said earlier, we're very good when it comes to digital marketing. But the question I'm asking myself now is like, how do we double our qualified lead volume per month? And that's our current constraint.
Out of curiosity, I'll bring it to Dave, our cameraman. So he's behind the camera. He's actually now usually in front of the camera. He started at a really high level doing comedy on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the rest of it. They've got over 100,000 just on Instagram. Who knows how many across all platforms. They've been producing nearly on a weekly basis extremely high content, extremely high quality content that's really, really, really funny. I was in stitches the other night. What would be the next, because they've been running a consistent basis, they've been getting good sponsorships and what have you now. What would be the next thing for that sort of play where you're just playing on Instagram or like playing on
what are you
basis?
selling?
Not selling anything, man. We're just making weekly.
Let's use the Both Sides podcast.
Selling entertainment, pretty much. We're putting out like character-driven cinematic sketches every week. We're not really selling anything apart from just like.
Yeah, you're just building audience.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
I would just keep building.
Yeah. If because usually the answer to that would be like if it's a small to medium sized business and it's like we've got 100,000 people on Insta, we're doing really well. What's the next step? The next step is usually start running ads and start adding calls to actions through your organic content to move them into your funnel.
That's what
but Dave doesn't have a funnel, right? And so. Nor do we have a product at this point, which by the way is awesome as well, because what it means is you can keep building audience and keep building equity, so that if down the track you want to do a national tour of shows or you want to release some funny product or whatever it might be, you'll have an audience that will eat it up, right? Yeah. But you don't need to dilute your relationship equity yet because you're not in a rush to monetize. And so what I would do if the content's hitting, the engagement is there, I would ask yourself the question, what would need to happen for us to double the volume of content that we produce and distribute on a monthly basis while continuing to increase the quality?
Yeah.
How many times are you posting a day on Instagram, for example?
We go one a week. You'll see if you have a look at our page. It's
Right. So that's the answer. So
yeah.
So Dave said one a week for if anybody couldn't hear him through the mics. That's the constraint and that's the opportunity. Is what would need to happen in order for us to be posting real funny shit 4 times a week?
Yeah.
Because you'll grow your audience 12 times faster.
Yeah. Amazing.
We started doing 2 reels a day now since our last episode.
Nice, dude. Your implementation is so strong. Yeah.
And our followers have started growing since doing it.
Yeah,
Yes.
they have.
They
Yeah.
plateaued and they weren't growing. And
Yes.
then we switched to 2 reels.
Did we talk about this
We
last
did,
time? Yeah.
Because we weren't
So-
doing... Yeah.
So that's an important. But do we talk about how like your followers don't grow for a long time?
Yeah, it didn't
Yeah.
grow for ages.
Right. So this is what happened with us as well, and like since I've learned it happens for fucking everybody. This comes back to doing the hard thing and not losing resolve when you don't get immediate results. When we started to amp up our volume of our social, so let's say it was, I can't remember exactly, let's say like 18 months ago, putting in all of this effort, shooting all of these videos, all of this like ideation, how do we, how do we do this thing? It's like it's this big project, and then you got to film all of the shit, and so there was a huge amount of effort that went into it. And what happened with us is our follower count went down for the first 3 months. And so you gotta, so there's like several things there. Firstly, you got the uncomfortability of, I don't really know how to do this thing. Secondly, you've got the uncomfortability of like, what should we do, and making the key decisions. And then you've got to be consistent as fuck, filming every couple of days, which before you're in the habit and the rhythm takes a lot of energy because you haven't built that muscle yet. And so you've got all of that pain in doing it. And then the reward for the pain is less engagement and follower count going down. And it probably was like that, again, I can't remember exactly, but let's say it was like that for like 3 to 6 months. And it's like, stay with it. Stay with it. Stay with it. It will turn the corner. And then surely enough, I think it was like, some point between 3 and 6 months, it turned a corner. Essentially what that means practically is that you've flushed out all the people that followed you 10 years ago and probably shouldn't be following you today. And now your content's gotten better because you've been doing it more regularly. And because it's gotten better, it's getting more engagement. And so your follower count's going up. And so if I now look at our last 6 months, 6 months ago, if we just use Instagram as an example, I had 120,000 people on Instagram. Today I have 210,000.
Wow.
And so it's another way of saying it took us, let's say, 10 years to get to 120K. It took me 6 months to get to 210K. But getting kicked in the nuts for 6 months while putting in all of the effort to begin with is like, that's the pain barrier that very few people ever get through to experience that kind of growth.
How did you know that it was going to go down and then kick back up again? Were you following the cake recipe and just following what someone else at a higher stage had taught you? Or
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have a friend who, in his words, went pro on social media, which is like just taking it more seriously. And he had given me a little bit of foresight around that. And then secondly, it also just stands to reason as well that like if you increase your posting quantity, not everybody's going to, not all, in terms of your existing followers, there's going to be a lot of people there that don't resonate with it, or it's too much for them, or it's too frequent for them. And so you actually want those people to unfollow you because it's just the relationship isn't a fit anymore, and that's fine. It's nothing personal. It's just the relationship isn't a fit anymore, and so it stands to reason that if you post more, you're going to get a lot of unfollows initially, and so you need to get to the point where your follows per month are greater than your unfollows per month, and it just so happens it takes 3 to 6 months to get to that point.
Thank God our followers have gone up, not down yet. But
What's that?
Thank God our followers have gone up since posting twice a day, not down.
That's great.
But
That's
it all
great.
plateaued for ages.
What would for us, our next key unlock, is it going from 2 posts a day to 4? Like
So that's an interesting one. You're talking on Instagram?
Instagram, TikTok, socials.
Different people have different views on this. I would probably say that I think you cap out on Instagram at 2 to 3 posts a day. That's not to say that there isn't other areas of improvement. I'll talk to them in a second, but it is to say that, to my opinion, I think there's a volume ceiling that exists on Instagram. Like for example, on X, you can post on X 100 times a day, and because what happens is the feed just keeps going down, and so it gets lost in the feed, and so X there is no volume constraint. Insta there's definitely a volume ceiling. And so I'd get to 2 to 3 really good posts a day, and then the options in terms of, okay, well, how do we improve from here? It's either, can we make the quality of the posts better, so put more time into each one, or now that we've got Insta on lock and we can be consistent on that, and we've proven we can be consistent on that, let's start on LinkedIn. And they start on LinkedIn by posting one really great post a week. And then once we're doing one great post a week, let's up it to 3 great posts a week. And so it's like a personal training program, right? You want to start benching 40, and then when you can bench 40, you want to bench 50, and then when you can bench 50, you want to bench 60 and 70 and 80. And so you build it up over time. But yeah, I think you get to a point on Instagram where the answer isn't more volume. The answer is either better quality or keep that engine running on that platform while exploring the next most valuable platform to you.
If you were us, would you, like, we dumped a lot of money in all these cameras and gear, but
Yeah.
I look at some of Dave's, like, it's just the whole, like, it's movie cinema type stuff.
Yeah.
Would you then up and upgrade the equipment?
No,
No.
you don't need to. No, I wouldn't. Like these cameras that we're shooting on are fucking awesome. The mics that we're shooting on are fucking awesome. Dave's clearly world class at what he does.
Press record.
He presses record and keeps recording. Just so everybody's clear, that's an inside joke back to our last podcast. It's not a slide on videographers. And so, no, I think I see that as a distraction and a waste of time and money.
So I don't know about you, Jack, but for me, entrepreneurship or business alongside of plant medicine have been 2 of the biggest personal development vehicles along my journey. I'm interested to hear from your side what have been yours.
What have been my
biggest vehicles for your own personal development? For me, it's been business and plant medicine. Love to hear what yours.
Business is definitely the main one, but alongside business, I think I've always been big into personal development since a very, very young age, like since breaking the cycle young, so like 6 years of age type thing. And then there's been times throughout my adult life where therapy has been really useful and constructive for me. And I make a point of saying there's been times because I think when it comes to engaging good therapists, I think people tend to swing to one of 2 extremes. Either they go, that's fucking weird, that's not for me, I don't know why you would do that. And I think if that's one's mindset, you're kind of cutting yourself short because you're not fully exploring any patterns that might be keeping you stuck, and therefore you're probably not fulfilling your potential. But then there's also another school of thought of people where it's like there's a strong argument to say that like our culture is like over therapized, meaning like so many people use therapy almost as like a crutch, and it becomes its own form of emotional cushioning as opposed to anything constructive. And so I'm not a fan of like being in therapy always. Like, you know, when you're talking to someone and they're like, I'm going to need to talk to my therapist about that. You're like, fuck, man, you've almost given away your agency to your therapist. Like you've almost given away your self-will or your ability to make decisions independent of your therapist. So I don't think that's healthy. But I think using therapists when there is a need or a period of grief or discovery or a relationship challenge has been really useful to me. As an extension of that, I've also done a fair bit of inner child work, which is all that is usually in therapy revisiting your childhood and the things that happened, but reinterpreting them through the adult lens that you can view them today. That was very meaningful for me. And so, yeah, I think it's like personal development in terms of like going to seminars, going to events, having coaches, therapy, and inner child work. I did ayahuasca once. I really enjoyed. Well, I wouldn't say I enjoyed it. Nobody enjoys it, but it was really beneficial for me in that it connected a whole lot of stuff that I needed connected. Like joined some dots for me that were important. But for me personally, and this is purely just, like, I actually wish this wasn't true, but I didn't love the just kind of how off the planet it took me. You know, my brother passed away as a result of drug use. Maybe that maybe that has something to do with it. But like,
I love it.
Yeah, good. And that's the thing. I actually wish that I loved the experience of it more, because I probably hated the few hours that I was doing it, but enjoyed the benefits. Whereas I wish I kind of did enjoy it, because then I would do it more often. But it's just kind of not my thing right now. Yeah.
My last question for you, Jack. Obviously, you're getting deep into the AI space at the moment. With AI, do you think the world will shift quicker in business and everything in general more than what happened with the internet?
Yes.
How and why?
Let's start with why. The reason why AI has an exponential growth curve or an exponential change curve is because we'll hit a point where, firstly, AI will be more intelligent than the entire human race combined, but you then reach a point where the AI starts training and developing itself independent of human intervention. And so at that point you reach an exponential growth curve.
General AI.
Yeah. And it was just an exponential growth curve that's so steep that human beings almost won't be able to keep up with it. And so it will need to be managed and governed. But for that reason, the change will be quicker and faster and more exponential than the internet. The other thing is that it's also, AI is really usable for the non-technical person. And I suppose you could argue the same for the internet as well. But it's like one of the things, like, I'm not a technical person. I'm a business person. So I'm focused on outcomes. So I'm focused on how do you use AI to generate outcomes faster, either in your personal life or in your business. But like, non-technical people like me, we're almost like used to, there's like a technological advancement and everybody kind of sits back and goes, yeah, we'll wait for a consultant or an expert to come along and help us understand it and help us implement it. That's not necessarily going to be the case of AI, because it's going to get to a point where it's so user-friendly to do just about anything that, like, if you can send a text message, you're going to be able to use AI to do just about anything. And so the adoption curve is steep because it's so beneficial and so easy to adopt. And so for those reasons, I think it'll be faster. Yeah.
Love it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Mate, that was really good. With the AI, I think it's a big topic in our industry. Do you think AI will replace agents, or do you think it's...
Yes, if you let it. And so it's going to be one of those things. I kind of see it as binary.
Yeah.
If you are playing with AI right now, if you're clumsily and imperfectly implementing it and making mistakes and just getting to know it, you will be brilliant in the future, because you'll develop the skill as AI continues to grow in prevalence and intelligence, and you'll be ahead of the curve. If you bury your head in the sand and go, well, I wish it wasn't here, like all of us wish it wasn't here, but we don't have that choice.
Yeah.
And so if you just bury your head in the sand and go, no, I'm not gonna partake. I don't think it's good for the world, and so I'm not gonna partake. Then it will wipe you out, because what will wipe you out is a business that's using it better than you. You know, we'll see in like the next 6 to 12 months, a business with 10 or 20 people doing the work and having the output of a business that 5 years ago would have needed 10,000 people. That's the power of it. And the other important component of the AI conversation is, I actually think that small to medium-sized business owners are at the greatest advantage of anybody on the planet. And there's two reasons for that. Firstly, we have the means to invest in it, because investing in it isn't going to be millions of dollars like, some kind of corporate level CRMs we saw 5 years ago, where, like to adopt a technological change might cost millions of dollars. The investment's going to be like, I don't know, a couple grand a month is kind of going to get you a really long way down the road. If you can spend 10 grand a month, like it's going to, you're going to be able to have the best stuff in the world. And so small to medium-sized business owners are best placed to take advantage of the changes that are coming, because we've got the means to invest and we've got the ability to be fast and flexible. Large corporates have the means to invest, but they do not have the ability to be fast or flexible. And so, like, if I was a big business, I won't mention names, I'd be really scared right now, because you're going to be able to be disrupted by a team of 50 is going to be able to displace a team of 20,000. And not just displace, they're going to be able to do everything better and faster and adopt more AI quicker and be more responsive to consumer. Like, they're going to be fundamentally better businesses, because you're too big, you're too bureaucratic, you're too stifled in legacy, and they're just not going to be able to keep up. And so if you're a small to medium-sized business owner, if you lean into AI and start using it clumsily and imperfectly right now, I think the next 5 to 7 years are going to be the best 5 to 7 years we've ever seen.
Love it.
Yeah.
Jack
Mate,
Delosa.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.